a traffic calming handbook, and it speaks to the process for traffic calming study and approval. It recommends creating a local traffic advisory committee. The local traffic advisory committee is a standing committee which coordinates all requests for traffic calming measures made within a local jurisdiction. This committee typically includes a municipal or county engineer, a municipal or county planner, a representative from the governing body, a representative from emergency services, one or more local citizens, and a representative from Public Works. Now, the benefit of a committee like this is instead of just reacting to a complaint that you receive at a public meeting where you're dealing with a lot of issues, this would be a committee that's specifically assigned to look into those issues. And that would be compliant with the recommendations of PennDOT in their traffic calming handbook. So I bring that before you tonight. That's a lot to swallow, but I wanted to give you a chance to think about it as you approach January and talk about appointments and committees. Perhaps the board wants to consider a traffic calming or traffic advisory committee to evaluate some of the questions that have been raised and whether or not implementation of traffic calming procedures is warranted in specific
By
locations.
forming a committee of this nature, does that give recommendations any more credence to PennDOT? Does that, in other words, does it give any weight to it?
It's not really PennDOT. See, the problem is, if we just throw a speed bump out there, we can, A, cause problems that we weren't anticipating, and B, spend a lot of township money on something that might not really solve a problem. So the goal with the Traffic Advisory Committee is to really think these things through, evaluate not just a speed bump, but all the options that are presented in the traffic calming manual for traffic reduction. From resident education to chicanes to, our roundabout is a traffic calming, to speed bumps. Look at the different things that can be implemented, see if they fit in the location that's being discussed, and then evaluate the costs of those to make a recommendation to this board. Now, ultimately, this board would have the final action because your committees don't spend money, that's up to this board.
They're an advisory board.
Right, but this would create a committee who's charged with really thoroughly investigating these things, looking at all the aspects, talking to the residents, doing all the things that this board probably doesn't have time to do with all the other things you deal with on an agenda, and then bring a recommendation back to the board that's thought out, that's gone through the process that's outlined in the manual. And when it comes back to you, if there is a recommendation, you've got the full background of it instead of a, hey, let's just do this.
Amy, does that help from a standpoint if we decide to do something from a legal standpoint, if we've done it as a committee versus just a off-the-cuff decision? Does that do anything legally? Protect the township? Whereas research has been done, the due diligence is
Yeah, I
done.
mean, generally speaking, I think it's always a good idea that there's some research done and that the community's involved or committee's involved.
So from a legal standpoint,
Specific-
that might be helpful.
Absolutely. So I can't speak specifically to the
Right.
traffic issues
Right.
without looking into it, but yes, I think it sounds like a good idea.
I think it's something to consider in the
Yeah, I like
future.
that, dude.
I think we did our own little study. I thought our traffic study that Chief Maxey did was awesome. I read the whole thing, I saw on the website. Well put together, easy to understand, and gave the results.
And I suspect by the time we get to Chief Maxey on the agenda, he'll have more information for us.
So if we wanted to do something like this would be something we would do in the January meeting? To
That would
form
be
a
an
committee?
appropriate time to do it, put together a committee.
Okay. Honorable Representative is gonna do.
The next, shall I continue?
Please do.
The next item on my piece of the agenda is the truck study for Gerloff Road. If you look in your packet, to make it simple, Limerick Township did a truck study for Gerloff Road, and that study bled into Lower Frederick Township, and they are recommending a restriction of trucks on Gerloff Road.
I've been through this once already. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just don't wanna leave anybody behind.
Busted. So can.
So traffic planning and design prepared the truck study, and they're recommending restricting truck traffic on Gerloff Road. And ideally, they believe that restriction would be implemented from Knifer Road in Limerick Township to Route 73 in Lower Frederick Township. To enforce a restriction, you need to add that to your ordinances. I've already been in touch with Mr. Keenan's office. I don't know if Damien and I spoke about this. But you would be able to authorize your solicitor to prepare an ordinance restricting truck traffic on Gerloff Road if you so desire.
I so desire.
Yeah.
I'm not sure everybody so desires. I'm not a trucker.
I'm
not sure how much-
about that.
Hold on a second, please. I'm not sure, I understand, what I understand is that the section of this road in Limerick Township is off limits to trucks, correct? Or it will be.
It will
going
be.
to be.
It will be.
It's going to be.
Mhm.
Well, then obviously, nobody can drive through our section of Gerloff Road because you're gonna come to Limerick Township and you're gonna be illegal there, so it's gonna have to be posted at our end, right? So, I don't know, Terry, what do you think of it?
I think it should be done. I have nothing against it.
From my perspective, it's also beneficial to the Gerloff Road Bridge.
Sure.
Because that's posted
Right.
right now, but if you also have your trucks in there.
It makes perfectly logical sense to follow up on it and piggyback off of what was already done.
Right.
Exactly.
So,
Saves us money.
yeah, and, you know, it's certainly Gerloff Road, everybody knows Gerloff Road. Trucks that belong with Gerloff Road.
Excuse me, I got a comment on regarding Gerloff Road, if I can.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm a resident of the township.
Your name, please?
Joe DeFusco, resident of the township.
Your address, your address?
133, Gerloff. Been a resident of the township for the past 33 years and Gerloff Road for 33 years. Not too long ago, I was able to walk down the center of Gerloff Road over the bridge, right to the big road, see a handful of cars. And past few years, there are so many cars traveling that road and the trucks as well. Probably 3 months or so ago, a truck came through and knocked power lines and cable lines down, knocked power out my house as well as my neighbors. And I spoke with one of the officers of the township and about the speeding, about the road, and I probably originated the additional stop signs, traffic speed limit signs on Gerloff. I spoke with Bonnie September 13th, spoke with Tom Manning, spoke with the state police. They advised me to call the township, spoke with Limerick Township, they told me about the no truck. And, but it's the speeding, it's the amount of cars that are on that road. You can see, if you walk it, you can see where cars are going off the road, because it must be a drop off the road this much in many places. And drivers don't live on the road, they're just driving through, and they look at that road as a challenge with the curves, with the hills. One of your officers told me that we need help. We don't have any type of speeding radar enforcement, so they can't do anything. Drivers are traveling easily 40, 45, 50 miles an hour on that road. And it's treacherous, not only for the drivers, but for anybody walking the road. So you mentioned speed bumps earlier. It would work on that road. And you go over the bridge, it turns from 30 to 25. People don't look at those signs and follow the signs. And that's one main reason why I'm here tonight. It's very dangerous. I almost got hit a few times. You ask people to slow down, they throw you the finger and they go even faster. So I'm hoping something can be done with that in the future.
Okay, thanks for your comment. I think tonight we're specifically looking at the truck study.
I'm all for that too, and I understand.
To try to, well, just to follow up on that.
Yeah,
We're in favor of that, so I'm not sure where that leaves us.
Well, there's no action for you to take tonight. There's no action for you to take tonight except to authorize the solicitor to prepare an ordinance.
Okay,
And then I'll move to authorize the solicitor to prepare an ordinance.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Nope, sorry, Warren, we voted already, we go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I just have a question. How do you define the restriction on trucks?
I have that same question, so I'll see if I can give you the answer that I received. We received a copy of Limerick's ordinance, and Limerick says for the purposes of this section, truck is defined as any and all 3-axle trucks, any and all 4-axle trucks, and any and all tractor-trailer
That's a
combinations.
big rig.
Yep,
So it has nothing to do with weight, just axles.
that's how Limerick's
That's
is
how
written.
Limerick,
Yep.
right. So I guess we would have option to change that, or. do
Yeah,
that with
your,
what we see.
I actually sent a copy of your,
Well, you're gonna have to watch, you gotta stay with Limerick, because
Yeah, right, you
Yeah.
can't have it,
you
right.
won't be changing one side.
Right,
and-
Yeah.
illegal until you get into
Don't
the
come up
woods.
here and go, oh, can't go any further.
yeah.
But not only
your-
that,
Your
we have to allow for, local delivery,
Oh, yeah.
fuel trucks.
Local deliveries, no matter what, it doesn't, if it's a local delivery, the truck can go in there.
Oh, even if it's.
Even if it's a tri-axle. Local delivery's allowed to go in, yeah.
State law.
State law says that.
Okay, does that answer your question, Warren?
I guess, but what's a 4-axle truck?
I just read their ordinance, Warren, I don't know.
Are they
Double
double
trailers.
3-axle truck and 4-axle.
Double,
A
double
4-axle
tractor
truck could be anywhere from a tri-axle on up.
You're
to a
talking about
tractor-trailer.
including the front axle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, okay, that defines it.
Right.
Okay, so we moved that.
Hey, Kevin.
Last thing I have on my list, and I can just touch on it tonight and revisit it next week if you'd like. The Perkiomen Creek watershed folks offer an opportunity for municipalities to take up membership at different price points. And the benefit of the membership is they will assist you with some of your MS4 permit requirements with public education and such. Their highest threshold was $1,000, and when I looked at it, I thought that's a bargain and I should talk to the board about it. As an MS4 permitted community, you have a responsibility under that permit to educate the public about stormwater and stormwater pollution. And there's a list of things that the township has to do under that permit. When the permit first came into being, and we were trying to tackle managing these measures, Crystal Gilchrist was with the Perkiomen Creek watershed back then, and she started a program like this. The township was a member and received some benefits. The program sort of fizzled, and I've not looked at it for a while. Somebody emailed me a link to that and the new program they have running. I'll bring you that information next week, because I don't think it's printed out in here, but I'll bring you that information next week with a recommendation that for $1,000, I think it would be a good value for the township to.
So the education requirement you're talking about for the MS4, so we have a number of different things we have to meet for MS4 guidelines. Part of that being an education program, and they would then assist with that or take care of that for us.
Right, they would do educational events that we could list in our MS4 report.
Okay, so we could,
Right.
basically like a public service announcement type of stuff, I
Right.
guess, okay.
Right.
And if we had to do that on our own, what would that
Well,
entail?
you could either pay me by the hour to do it.
Oh, okay.
It gets very, I am working with townships right now that spend $60,000 a year on their MS4 program.
How much?
$60,000.
And I'm working for a township that has an extra 0 on the back of that.
Thank you, Roger. So,
So we're like small potatoes for you too.
this is a bargain as opposed to paying a private consultant or hiring another staff member to deal with this for you, so.
They have substantial literature and pamphlets and everything that you can use and put in here and access to your
And that could help with our requirement.
And you actually have, I'm sorry, but you do have some of those things out here now, and you have links on your webpage. I've been working with previous township managers on keeping that going on your township pages in years past. So, again, I'll bring you that information next week for the
Okay,
recommendation.
that sounds
that you
good.
consider.
Thank you.
I think that's the end of the items that I have.
Thank you, nice job. Good heads up feedback on the reducer track.
Hey, Bob.
Comment?
I've got a package there I gave to Kevin, cultural resources that would cover the Iron Bridge on Gerloff Road. There's copies there to pass out to everybody.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Phil?
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on, I guess, what Carol was saying about the tree cutting issue up there. Now, I had served a letter to the township, expressing a concern about the idea of the buffer being incurred on, and perhaps the issues that involve not only stormwater management, but also the issue of aesthetics in regard to that buffer area. So I know you still have the ability to impose conditions before approval on that, and I would respectfully ask you to understand that in the planning process, we gave quite a bit to that developer in order to be able to make a problem go away for them, which happened to deal with impervious coverage in the site. And in view of that, I think it would be wise to look at the issues of that buffer area from the point of view that we are trying to retain our rural character. They're to go in, as Carol pointed out, and they have no obligation, I guess, if it's approved, to do anything other than to maintain that buffer, right? You said foresting and stuff like that is not possible.
There is a limit of disturbance shown on the plan. That limit of disturbance is part of their NPDES construction permit. They are going, with good reason, they are going out of their way not to go beyond that limit of disturbance. That's part of what they are required to maintain under their NPDES permit. So they're not going beyond what was on the approved plan. And this is the same plan that we've been looking at,
Sure, yeah.
since 2008 primarily, with some updates for the NPDES permit process. So they're not clearing the woods. I didn't mean to say that in any way. What I'm saying is they are adhering to the limits of clearing that are on their plan. And those are essentially the same limits of clearing that have been on there for many, many years.
But my point is that in putting conditions on them into the future for that approval, we could consider stipulating that we would like to see that area that is the buffer zone that, will be provided by that development, not to have, for instance, a clear out understory and we'll call it a suburbanization of that site. Is that correct?
Well, they already have gone through a meeting for conditional final approval. I don't know that we have a place to put additional conditions on at this point.
I thought that was what Tom had brought up at the November the 8th meeting, that the final approval did have the ability to have conditions.
But they've been given those conditions as part of their final approval. That was voted on by the board.
Okay, so
I'm not sure I'm following what you're saying, Phil.
well, I simply said that if there's an opportunity to suggest what kind of way we would like to see that buffer treated, I think that we would be wise to do so now. But apparently, according to Carol, that's not possible because we have given them the final approval.
What you're saying is not to clear anymore.
Not to clear anymore, but also to maintain that into the future, because one of the things that the homeowners association could do, quite honestly, once they're up and running, is say, hey, we want to mow that whole section and put turf underneath it.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, I don't think there's anything we can do about that, is there?
No, I think once it belongs to
That's
the
their
HOA,
private- that's private
it's their,
property.
they're called to manage that property.
Yeah, but we are instrumental in them developing their bylaws, for instance. At the time that they're gonna submit them, we have to sort of run through what those bylaws are, and if it doesn't mesh with our concept of how we'd like to see that development, look and appear into the future, isn't that?
I think you just went above my pay grade.
Oh,
Sorry, Phil.
Take your comment into consideration. Thank you. I'd like to move on.
I have one more comment then. Phil triggered it, kind of. Ms. Schuler had stated that there is no encroachment on the line of disturbance, and she indicated that your method of ascertaining that was pacing the
No,
property? So
they-
your gate would be different than my gate, then different than this tall gentleman here. Wouldn't you think a more accurate method would be to use like a sight laser or something? We're just
May I answer
taking
your
your
question
word.
now, please, before you continue?
Yes.
So their contractor's survey department did perform survey and put flags out to
After the
demarc-
fact.
No, that's what the tree cutting people were following.
No,
So-
it was not. The site
Hold on a
was not.
second here. Oh, well, we're not gonna have a discussion.
Okay.
Actually, we can end this right here now, because I think this is all water over the dam at this point in time. I think we have clarification on what we have here, and I think we're done with this at this point in time, so respectfully, I'd like to shut you down, Linda, and I'd like to move on to the police.
That's okay, so
Thank you.
that's quite all right.
Or whoever Kevin has next on the
I
agenda.
figured if we're
go
under
ahead.
engineer, we might as well have
Yeah, go
Roger
ahead.
give an update on the sewer plant.
Thank you.
Okay, so, I was brought here tonight to answer some questions that came up at the last meeting and to kind of give an update of where we are. I see that Mr. Tobias has handed out a spreadsheet of payments that were made so far. I'll pass out a handout. He actually kind of did the same thing I did. And I looked at the numbers, we're within $100, so I think that's good.
Well, what?
We're within $100 on over $4 million,
That
so.
sounds not even worth mentioning.
So what I've outlined in this spreadsheet is the payments that have been made so far on the 4 contracts. And you'll notice there's only 1 payment on contract 2, no payments on contract 3, and 2 payments, and then 1 further payment that I believe you're gonna consider for authorization tonight for contract 4, which is the electrical contract. You'll have more coming to you, I believe, at the next meeting, because the job meeting for the project is actually tomorrow with all the contractors. So out of that will come the next payment request. So far, as you'll see on the list, we've spent $4.4 million on the general portion of the contract, and approximately 109 on the electrical portion. There'll be an official schedule that comes out after the meeting tomorrow. I was given a updated copy today. I forwarded it to Carol and to Kevin and Tommy. We're a little ahead of schedule from where we anticipated we'd be by this time of year, which is good. They're looking at, if they continue at this pace, probably startup is gonna take place at the end of February, early March, with commissioning the tanks and moving forward for the switchover. So we're in good shape. I wanted to quickly, on your agenda, you have several change orders and the payment estimate for consideration tonight. I wanted to take you guys through this. Sometimes I assume that everybody worked with the same documents that I've worked with for the past 30 years. And it's easy for me to refer to things and everybody doesn't know what I'm talking about. So when you have the change orders or the payment estimates in front of you, and I'm referring to a form that looks like this, that completely outlines the status of that contract and what I'm looking at here. Actually, what's in the packet tonight, Kevin, that I can refer to?
We have, Garden State Electric pay request number 3, Garden Spot Electric